Hi, I'm Bernie Hayes. Today's guest is Kimberly Ann Collins. She's a state representative-elect for the 77th District of the Missouri House of Representatives. Today on The Bernie Hayes Show. And welcome back. I'm Bernie Hayes, and my guest is Kimberly Ann Collins. Kim, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing real good, thank you. And you're more or less, you still have to be elected to the 77th District, but you're running unopposed, right?
Yes, I'm running unopposed for the November general election on November the 3rd.
So tell me why, Kim, why'd you choose public service?
Well, I've always been in the community, and I've been living in the 77th District all 28 years of my life. One thing that my grandmother told me is one thing that she said to me before she passed away is if you want something done, you have to get it done. You have to get out there, put your foot out there and do it yourself. And so I see a lot of things in the community. I've grown up in this community. I've learned to love this community for 28 years. And when I was a little girl, it was totally different than what we're experiencing now.
Sure.
So I put my foot out there to run, although I don't have a political background. I have a public health background, but it's a learning experience, and I'm willing to learn and listen as well as lead.
Okay. What are the boundaries of the 77th District?
So the boundaries of the 77th District it starts off of Broadway near 70. It runs through the O'Fallon and the Penrose neighborhood. And then it comes up to the Ville, the Greater Ville, covers small proportions of the JVL neighborhood. It runs through the Lewis Place and the Fountain Park neighborhood, just right up Kings Highway, covering the Central West End. It also covers West Pine Laclede neighborhood, as well as the Grove neighborhood, ending at Manchester and Kings Highway.
That's a big district.
Yeah.
I had Steve Roberts in when he was a representative for the 77th, and he described it also, and I thought, wow, that's huge. This is wonderful, Kim. You're in the healthcare field, right?
Yes.
What are your plans for the 77th District for hospitalization and for healthcare for your constituents?
Well, one thing that I've been working on since being elected in August is I've been formulating what is called a public health advisory committee. And that public health advisory committee would set up and be made up of public health professionals who are within the 77th District. We have a lot of public health entities like CareSTL and BJC, but also it'll be made up of residents who are eager and interested into decreasing the health disparities that we are facing within the 77th District. And I hope that the Public Health Advisory Committee within the 77th District will be a model committee for other districts to follow. And it is also set to help advise me incorporate health in all policies.
Well, how are you combating with this COVID-19 pandemic? What plans do you have for that to make things easier?
Well, of course, I've been following social distance guidelines during the campaign. I was still knocking on doors, but I think I had like 3 or 4 masks on at a time, but still standing back 6 feet or more than 6 feet away in social distance with residents and talking and giving them my platform. This COVID-19 has been really hard during election season because you're not really able to speak to everybody that you want to speak to.
Right.
So I didn't know if we were doing good during the election or not. I didn't know if people were actually receiving the message, because it's one thing to hang door hangers on a door, but it's another thing to speak to people directly. We've been doing the food boxes and everything. One thing that I'm excited about is that CareSTL they have broken ground on St. Louis Avenue in Newstead to provide a clinic within the district, but also to give people. It's a location where not a lot of people have health insurance, of course, but it's also going to serve as a platform for people to come and get served health wise. They'll also be doing a housing unit for our seniors. One thing that I'm focused on within the district is I actually like to see Homer G. Phillips Hospital open back up.
Wow.
And I know that they have that Homer G. Phillips they're renaming the hospital on Jefferson as Homer G. Phillips, but I believe that it should stay in the community that it was built in, that it was named in. The Fourth Ward has a historical community, and so I'm going to be working with the different partners I know it's a stretch, but I want to be able to see a hospital in our neighborhood. Oh,
that's so good to hear, because so many people just totally forget about healthcare after they're elected, to certain things, but they all campaign on opening a hospital or healthcare for the community. But as soon as they take that off, that oath, they seem to forget about the needs for those in need. Kimberly, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from St. Louis, and did you grow up here, go to school here?
Yeah, I'm 28 years old. I just turned 28 on September the 7th. Obviously, 7 is my favorite number because I represent the entire 77 district. I went to St. Elizabeth Academy and got my high school diploma. I went to De La Salle Middle School, which was a school located in the 77 district on Kennerly, but it is now transformed into a charter school on Jefferson. It wasn't a charter school when I went there. It was a Catholic middle school. I went to Farragut Elementary. I feel like I'm working my way on down. I should be working my way up. But I went to Farragut Elementary for elementary school, which is also a school located within the 77 district on Sullivan and Clay. For college, I went to the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and I majored in public health sciences with a minor of chemistry. So I'm excited about that. I live in the Fourth Ward on Lexington, and I've always been in the 77 district. I have a passion for homelessness. One thing that I've been able to do is work with different grassroots nonprofits who do a lot of work with our unhoused residents, is what we call them. We don't really call them homeless because that's kind of a term that people feel isolated around. And so when we call them unhoused residents, it makes them feel still a part of the community, although, they're residents, although they don't have a roof over their head. And so we want people to feel inclusive. We want our communities to be inclusive. And we do a lot of work with unhoused residents. There are several different pop-up shelters in the city of St. Louis that are ran by City to Hope STL, Pastor Mike Robertson, who is also a 77 district resident. I work with different organizations like Pot Bangers, that is ran by Mama Cat, Kathy Daniels, Red Bike, which is ran by Kathleen Dunn. They do a lot of work on the ground with unhoused residents to ensure and provide resources, but also to provide them with shelter, clothing, and food, those basic necessities that you need to survive.
That's wonderful. My wife is a psychologist at Farragut School, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yes, she is. And I understand your mom's in education, too. Tell us about your mother.
My mom is Latanya Collins Smith. She is the provost at Harris Stowe. I believe she is in academic affairs at Harris Stowe, too. You would know it better than I would.
Yes.
She's very involved. She's in higher education. Yeah. And she encourages me a lot. She is also a 77 district native.
Okay. And John Collins Muhammad, do you know him?
That's my brother. Oh. He is the 21st Ward Alderman. He also grew up in the Fourth Ward. Of course, he's a 77 district native. Our entire family comes from the 77 district, beginning all the way back from 4006 Lincoln to 4043 Greer Avenue. My brother is now leading the construction down Natural Bridge to hopefully in the future stop the number of killings that we have on Natural Bridge due to speeding. That's
speeding, yeah. That's terrible. And I'm so glad that he's doing that. He's done so much for the ward already. And it's really, really wonderful. How can we reach you? Do you have an office now, Kim?
So I have a direct cell phone number that I pick up. It is 314-349-8042. If someone calls that phone, it is not a Google number. It's my direct cell phone number. I believe in transparency, and I also believe in picking up when residents need me. I don't have a direct office right now. Okay. I will hopefully get that in January.
Certainly. But you have email and website?
Yes. My email is Kimberly Ann @gmail.com, and my website is KimberlyAnnStl.com.
Wonderful. We'll be back with our guest, Kimberly Ann Collins. But in the meantime, we're at the New Life Evangelistic Center, 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri, 63114. And Reverend Larry Rice has been providing these services for those who don't have shelter and food, clothing for nearly 50 years. Back with our guest, Kimberly Ann Collins, after this.
You don't want to miss this upcoming election. November 3rd is going to be historical in America, and every caring person needs to go to the polls and vote. So if you haven't registered, you better do it right away. If you have and you plan to mail in a ballot, get it mailed off immediately. But whatever you do, vote. Vote in one way or another November 3rd. The issues are so profound at this particular time. The history of this country is at stake, and your vote is very, very important. So as you pray, seek God, discover the biblical principles that we see throughout the scriptures that tell us to love, yes, the unborn, the fatherless, the widowed, the hurting, the homeless, the migrant. So many people are hurting at this particular time in this country. There's so much social discontent and so much frustration and so much anger. The people of God need to vote and vote for candidates that are going to bring this country together, that we're going to be able to experience the healing and hope that's so absolutely essential at this particular time. There are many, many people that are hurting. There are many, many people that are depending upon you at this time and your vote. So please do your part. Every last citizen needs to go to the polls and vote at this particular time, and just let their godly principles be known through the compassion that they're sharing as they vote for candidates of compassion, candidates who care, candidates who are going to be on the front lines of the poor, the fatherless, the widowed, the hurting, the homeless, and the elderly at such a time like this. We need to be praying for our country. We need a healing in our country at this time in so many, many different ways. And you have been given that opportunity to bring forth that healing as you pray for this country and as you vote. So please remember, this could be the most important election in modern history. And that's why it's so absolutely essential that you go to the polls and vote.
Welcome back. My guest is Kimberly Ann Collins. On her poster it says State Representative-elect for the 77th District Democratic nominee. And she has a website and an email address and call. It says, "Do it with love." Kim, how did you come up with that slogan there?
I've been told that that was one of the catchiest slogans of all-time history in St. Louis politics. I formulated that slogan because I felt that love is what is missing in our communities, and love is what is missing in St. Louis politics, period. When I first ran for office, for me, and I've always said this, it was not political for me, although I was running for a political seat. It was personal. It was personal because this is a community that I've grown up in. It's personal because a lot of the experiences, a lot of the things that our children and our families are experiences, I've faced too. I've too been homeless. I've too been hit, been through gun violence. I happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time driving with my sister. I've too have lost my biological parents to the system. So these are things that I have grown up in. And so it became personal for me.
Sure.
And being on the doors, knocking on the doors and talking to residents and having built that relationship in the 77th District for 28 years, it was always personal.
It says also here, "I am humbled to serve you in the Missouri legislature and will always be here for you." So you do take it personal. Kim, do you have any particular, we talked about health care. What other plans do you have for the 77th District?
So one thing that I'm working on right now is prison reform. I'm huge on criminal justice reform, and I wholeheartedly feel that we cannot move forward with criminal justice reform until without displaying prison reform. So one of the things that I'm working on is a prison reform bill that I'm having the ideas about, having discussions about, and I'm looking at inmate labor slavery. And so I'm looking at inmates, people who are incarcerated in the state of Missouri who make less than $1, who are slaving behind those prison walls, packaging products and making masks. A lot of the things that we are wearing, we probably wouldn't have. Companies would not be able to sell if it was not for inmates packaging those companies and making those T-shirts and things. And so I'm targeting those companies who use inmate labor in the state of Missouri, and I'm looking at those companies who do not hire ex-offenders. It kind of would be something that would align with the reentry programs. The one thing that people don't really understand is slavery is still illegal in the United States Constitution. When you look at the 13th Amendment, convict leasing still exists. You are still subject to involuntary slavery as long as you have been convicted of a crime. And a lot of these guys, when they get out of prison, they're unable to obtain a job. And so if we provide those resources to those individuals who are released, if we give them some type of opportunity, hope, and also some type of wage, if we give them some type of wage, which it should be a livable wage. And I understand Missouri is just not there yet when it comes to livable wages, making a minimum wage a livable wage. But people need employment. People need to be able to provide for their families, for their children, for themselves. And so I'm looking at that, and hopefully I can get that to be a bipartisan piece of legislation, something kind of like restorative justice. Yeah.
You're going to be a strong voice in the Missouri State House. I can tell that already. Any mentors you want to mention?
So I have a few mentors. Ron Gregory is one of my mentors. Jesse Todd is my mentor. He's also my godfather. I look up to him a lot. As far as female mentors, Sharon Tyus is one of my mentors, as well as committee woman Gail Farwell, who serves as the committee woman for the 28th Ward. Those are individuals who have kind of spearheaded and given me the advice that I needed to move forward in St. Louis politics.
So you're pretty already well connected. Kimberly Ann Collins, when did you come into consciousness? What do you feel like you did?
When did I come into consciousness?
Yeah, I mean, really about the awareness of the things around you that you want to see changed.
Well, it really started after college, although I've already, always been in the community.
Sure.
It started really after college. And I just started to get that wake up call actually in 2015 when they closed down the new evangelistic center. And then we started doing pop-up shelters. We were rumbling and scrambling, and we were opening up churches left and right. We were working with a lot of people, and Elliot Davis was catching it on the news. And one person said, "Have you ever thought about running for office?" And I said, "No, I just like doing the work." And they said, "Well, we need people like you who care about homelessness." Then I started to look at, who in politics was doing the work around homelessness. And honestly, we cannot move forward as a community until we help our most vulnerable population. And those are individuals who have nothing. And it might not just be individuals who have, who don't have finances, but it could be individuals who have a lack of guidance in their life. It could be individuals who have a lack of mentorship, individuals who have lack of mental health stability within their lives. And so I started looking at who was doing the work around homelessness and who was really helping our most vulnerable. And I didn't really see much of that in politics. And so that is something that I hope to bring in the Missouri State Legislature in January.
This is wonderful. It's so good. There's so much I want to ask you about. How can they reach you? Do you need volunteers? Do you need donations to continue your campaign, or what?
Well, I mean, donations are always accepted, but I encourage people to help elect individuals who are running against other Republicans in other districts. Like we have a black sister named Alicia Kennedy. She's actually running for lieutenant governor, and she doesn't get the acknowledgement that she needs as a black sister. I encourage people, I don't have an opponent for the general election, but I would encourage people to donate and check out Alicia Kennedy, who is running for lieutenant governor, who is running for an important seat as well, just like Nicole Galloway as a woman.
For those who have not registered, who have registered and haven't voted yet, tell us the importance of voting, not only for you, but for the vote in general.
Well, obviously I'm a Democrat. The importance of voting is serious. Your vote is your voice. And I feel like that you cannot complain if you do not vote. Voting is a right. It's a civic duty. And it's something that you have to do, that we must do. If we talk about change, if we talk about putting progressive candidates in office, people who come from the trenches, people who come from our backgrounds, we have to continue to vote. And we just have to continue to have faith and believe. The voter registration date ended yesterday for the November 3rd election. However, people can still be encouraged to register to vote if they're not registered, because elections happen, every year. Every year we have an election every year. So I just would encourage people to vote, and it's so important. Especially encourage your kids and those individuals who are 17, who will be 18 who will be 18 soon, encourage them to vote, because you don't want your children growing up not learning the importance of voting.
I was going to ask you about young people. How are you communicating with young people, your age and below and a little bit over?
So I had a lot of young people who were helping me canvass all the way down to the age of 6 years old.
Okay.
Their parents put them out there and said, my daughter needs something to do, especially with school not being in session. And you had coronavirus hitting. Kids were bored this summer. And so I gave kids something to do. I paid them out of my campaign account. And they liked it, but it gave them a sense of, hey, this is really cool. I'm 6 years old, I'm 8 years old, and I'm talking to somebody on the doors about why it's important to vote for Kimberly Ann Collins. Like, it was just cool.
Sure.
I do a lot of work at Yateman Middle School. I have to give a shout out to Dr. Melissa Nash, who has transformed Yateman Middle School to a community school, a full service school. I show up in places where I know the youth will be, and that's how you have to reach them. You have to meet people where they are. I can't expect them to come to me. I have to go to them and meet them where they are.
Kimberly Ann Collins is my guest, and we're at the New Life Evangelistic Center, 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. Reverend Larry Rice has been here nearly 50 years doing the services that were provided at 1411 Locust Street, but now they're here in Overland, really trying to get 1411 Locust Street open again. Hopefully we will. With your help and prayers, we shall. We'll be right back after this.
The Bernie Hayes program is produced at NLEC TV right here at 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. It's our new headquarters since they closed the 1411 Locust building. We're working to get back into that building. In addition to that, trying to help so many people through a wide variety of safe houses, training programs, transportation assistance, so many ways people are getting help because of all of you that are supporting the work of New Life Evangelistic Center. Now, if you'll send a gift of $25 or more, we want to send you this special, the Bernie Hayes Show cup. And we're giving that to people. It's just a way of saying thank you. So when you send your gift, request a cup. We'll be happy to get it off to you. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. You can give online at nlecstl.org. Now I'm really asking all of you to join us in praying. The needs are so phenomenal at this particular time. So many hurting and homeless people are contacting us daily, but we're able to help them because of each one of you that are praying, caring, and sharing at this time. Tell your families and friends about NLEC TV and get directly involved yourself.
We'll return, I guess, after this Black History Moment. Today's subject, Bob Gibson. The Omaha, Nebraska native excelled at baseball and basketball in high school and played college hoops for Creighton University before he became a stint with the Harlem Globetrotters. In 1957, he signed with the Cardinals and made his big league debut in 1959. A 15-game winner by 1962, he won 18 games in 1963 and 19 in the Cardinals' pennant-winning season of 1964. In the World Series against the Yankees, he went 2-1, winning Game 5 at Yankee Stadium and then Game 7 at home on 2 days' rest. He was named MVP. And he won the 20-game winner in 1965 and 66, winning the first of 9 consecutive Gold Gloves awards in 1965. A broken ankle in July of 1967 slowed him down to a 13-7 record, including 3 wins late in the season to help the Cardinals again clinch another pennant. The 1968 season has come to be known as the Year of the Pitcher, and Bob Gibson was a Pitcher of the Year. Gibson brought home with both the 1968 Cy Young Award and the National League's Most Valuable Player Awards, and he also earned a Cy Young Award in 1970 and pitched a no-hitter against the Pirates in 1971. Injuries were beginning to take their toll, however, and Gibson wound down just with double-figure victory totals in 1973 and 74 before retiring in 1975. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1981 and Major League Baseball All-Century Team in 1999. Gibson passed away on October the 2nd, 2020.
Now is the time to pray. And as you're praying, please remember New Life Evangelistic Center and its daily work among the hurting, the hungry, and the homeless. Remember the Bible, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it shall be opened to you.
And welcome back. My guest is Kimberly Ann Collins. As her campaign poster reads, State Representative-elect for the 77th District Democratic nominee. And Kimberly, is there something that you'd like to talk to about that we haven't asked you about, perhaps, around the homeless and so forth?
Well, yeah, we were talking about unhoused residents and homelessness. One of the things that I do want to note is Pastor Mike Robertson and the entire City to Hope STL family, along with the 2020 census family, they have been able to incorporate and include unhoused residents as being counted in the 2020 census. So I thought that that was very important. I believe that everyone should be able to be counted. Mm-hmm. One thing that I've been able to start the conversation on and push that needle and that envelope forward is to talking about some of these vacant school buildings that we have within our communities. And I am not the only district 77 district is not the only district that has vacant schools. Sure. We have a lot of schools that are being closed within North St. Louis that are St. Louis public schools, or that have been closed and been sitting for years and years. And we need to start having that conversation about what is it that we can do with this building. Where can we get that funding from to get this building into shape? And it might not necessarily be another St. Louis public school. It could possibly be a pop-up shelter, which is needed, a 24-hour pop-up shelter, which is needed. But also we need permanent housing units for individuals, so that people are just not, okay, I have to go to a pop-up shelter 1 year and then I'm back at the pop-up shelter the next year. No, we need people with permanent resources, with resources that will help people start to move the needle forward and get their life on track.
Okay. Once again, how can we contact you?
You can contact me at 314-349-8042. That is my direct cell phone number. Again, that is not a Google number. Or you can contact me via email at KimberlyAnn4STL@gmail.com. Or I'm on Facebook at Kimberly Ann Collins.
Okay. You have a website?
Oh, my website is KimberlyAnn4STL.com. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kim, once again, the importance of the Census Bureau and filling out that census information. Tell us about the census.
So the census, every time someone fills out that census, it'll be $1,300 in federal dollars that will be implanted within the community, within your community. It's so important. I was just standing on the corner of Delmar and Kings Highway 2 days ago with committee man John Watson and committee woman Yolanda Yancey, and we were talking about we were at the microphone and we were yelling out, "Hey, come fill out your census! It's so important! It's so important to fill out your census. We need you. Your community is counting on you. We need those federal dollars for programs. We need those federal dollars for things that we're trying to change in our communities. And if you don't fill out your census, you cannot complain. We need people to participate. We need people to be engaged, and we need them to be a part of the legislative process. We need them to be a part of the voting process. We need them to be a part of the census county numbers process. I'm gonna say this too. Sure. The other thing that I was talking about was inmate gerrymandering. And I was saying on Facebook, I believe that those individuals who are incarcerated, especially if you're not serving a life sentence, those individuals who are incarcerated, who are from the jurisdictions that we live in, say, for example, North City, St. Louis, north of Delmar, I believe that those individuals should be able to be counted in our census numbers. The thing is, they get counted in the jurisdiction in which they are housed in which they are incarcerated in. So you could take someone for like Bonne Terre Correctional Facility. You'll be counted in Cole County, or whatever county that is in, and that's a rural county. Our areas need those federal dollars more than those rural areas need those federal dollars. And then that leads me to the fact that I was saying it's so important to vote for these judges, to vote either yes to retain these judges or no to not retain these judges. These judges are the judges who give us these heavy sentences. And you could take Bobby Bostic, for example. Bobby Bostic got 241 years when he was 16 years old. Although that judge came forward and said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gave him that much time," he still is incarcerated for 241 years for just a robbery.
I hate to interrupt you, Kim. We're about out of time. I mean, you're a rising star. We're going to see a lot of Kimberly Ann Collins. That I'm quite certain of. I just want to say thank you for taking time during this pandemic to come by and visit with us here at New Life Evangelistic Center and the Bernie Hayes Show.
Thank you.
Whatever we can do for you, Kim, you've got it.
Thank you
so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I want everyone to keep continuing to support the New Life Evangelistic Center. It's on 24.2. Reverend Larry Rice, in nearly 50 years, been here just for you. I'm Bernie Hayes. Have a great day.